You are the future. And your beliefs shape your future. Now, the future is not something way off in the distance. It is right now. Whether your beliefs are positive or negative matters. Said in another way, your positive thinking refers to your faith. Your negative thinking refers to your fears. And they do influence your life. There is a very close connection between faith and fear. And when we get everyone to understand that connection, then we have the potential to shape the minds of this and future generations. And we don't even have to use electric shock. I'm just joking. Let's get started by talking about faith. A mentor of mine shared with me a quote that literally changed the way that I think. While he was working in Chicago, he met a man by the name of Clarence Smithson. Not a celebrity, a doctor, or a scientist. He was just an ordinary guy like you and me. Well, okay, not like me because I'm a woman. But Clarence had this indefinable quality about him. And one day he was asked to share his view on faith because he seemed to have so much of it. So Clarence summed it all up in this one statement. Faith is the ability to see the invisible. Believe in the incredible. And that is what enables believers to receive what the masses think is impossible. Now, I studied that quote for a very long time. Years, actually. Now, that may make me sound like a slow learner, but when I get it, I really get it. Because I was studying the mind and why we do what we do, it led me to talk about this connection between faith and fear and what they have in common. Let's start off by breaking down that quote just one bit at a time. Faith is the ability to see the invisible. Now, I know that everyone here at some point or another in their life has wanted something so bad that you could see it and you could feel it. Yes. Are there any children here today? Because children are really good at this. I want you to imagine with me a child that wants a dog. He'll do anything to get it. And he'll start off with a simple question. And of course, those puppy dog eyes. Mom, can we get a dog? And then he'll do everything he can, use every trick in the book to convince you of all the benefits of owning a dog. Well, it'll be cute and cuddly. It'll give companionship to the family. He'll even get more exercise because he's going to take it for a walk every day. Oh, and don't forget, he's going to pick up after the dog. What do you think? He wants the dog so much that he can see himself holding the dog of his dreams. Until eventually, you take him to the shelter or the pet store, and he'll know the right dog when he sees it. But up until then, the dog is invisible. Which leads us back to faith is the ability to see the invisible. Next, he talked about believe in the incredible. Now, that's a difficult belief, and we've all heard incredible stories that were hard to believe, at least to us. A few years ago, I was in a car accident. My pregnant daughter and one-year-old grandson were in the car with me. We were pulling an empty 24-foot cargo trailer when we hit black ice. The trailer jackknifed. We were rolling down an embankment. The three of us walked away from that vehicle with one slight bump to the head. All the passerbys were saying the same thing. I can't believe it. We all have faith in some way or another. And faith can be learned. It can be developed. Believe in the incredible. And then he finished up by saying, and that is what enables believers to receive what the masses think is impossible. Now, how many of you have heard an incredible story that was hard to believe? You were skeptical. It's too good to be true. It's outrageous. Maybe it's outright impossible. Except to the person who believes, they have no doubt. I believed. And anyone who was watching that accident happen might have thought the worst. They might have thought it impossible that we could walk away from that crushed vehicle unharmed. I believed. My belief allowed me to receive what most might have thought impossible. Now, right about now, you might be thinking, she's crazy. Well, don't tell my husband because he doesn't know that yet. Dr. Jordan Grafman, who is the director of the Cognitive Neuroscience section at the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, had this to say. Neuroscience research supports the idea that the brain is primed to believe. Primed to believe, he said. Well, you know, that was quite a mouthful that I just had to remember about the National Institute of Neurological Disorders, but I believed I could, and I did. You see, we're primed to believe. What then does faith and fear have in common? Well, let me tell you a bit about myself before we get into the fear. I am a certified thinking into results consultant, an author, speaker, coach. Most importantly, I am a mother. I have more than 30 years invested in raising 5 children. So remember that dog back there that I'm still cleaning up after? I would like to share with you a story about our children because it illustrates this faith and fear connection. One summer, we had taken them to Mount Rainier. The sun was shining, the sky was blue. There was even a bit of snow on the ground, and off in the distance was a stream. Not a lot of water in it, maybe a foot or so. And the surface of that log had been shaved flat to create a walking surface. On one side of the log was a simple handrail attached. Now, 2 of our children took one look at this bridge, and off they went. Without any hesitation, they crossed it. Our oldest child took one look at that bridge and stopped. I went over and said, "Come on, let's go." There was no way he was crossing that bridge. Now, what do these 2 have in common? At first glance, they may appear to be complete opposites. But let's take a closer look because they were both right in their own mind. These 2 looked at the bridge and they believed without any doubt this was the way across, and off they went. This one took one look at the bridge and believed without any doubt this was an unsafe crossing. There was no way he was planted. Now, they were both looking at exactly the same thing. Yet 2 had faith, One had fear because of what they believed, even though none of them could see the evidence to support their belief. It was invisible. Dr. Michael Inslicht, before I tell you that, I did go over and talk to this one, and I walked him through his fear, and yes, he did cross the bridge. Now, Dr. Michael Inslicht, he focuses his study on a brainwave called error-related negativity, ERN, which spikes when people make mistakes, and it causes this slight anxiety. You know the one? He calls it the uh-oh response, which is both subconscious and emotional. In one of his studies, he found that this uh-oh response was less strong in people who had faith. People who had faith. Now, I have a lot of faith, but that's not to say that I have no fear, because I do. And fear can, at times, protect us. But more often than not, fear stops us from achieving great things. Now, let me take you back to Clarence Smithson. Because after analyzing what he said, I played with this idea of inserting fear in the place of faith. And this is what it sounds like. Fear is the ability to see the invisible. Like my child who feared the bridge being unsafe. To believe in the incredible, like the passerbys who feared the worst. And that is what enables believers to receive what most people think is impossible. Now, if I had let my child stand here and believe in his fear, then it would become his truth. I had to get him to change the vision of what it was he saw. Fear is a belief. But where does it come from? Well, Dr. Rick Newert shares his findings from the New York University study, which is the first to examine brain bases of fears acquired indirectly from the observation of others. What that means is you don't even have to experience fear yourself. You can acquire it from seeing others experience it. And if you take a closer look at some of your fears, you might find that to be true. The connection between faith and fear is the invisible belief that it exists. Wow, this is a game changer, you guys. Imagine if this were taught in school. Imagine if this were taught in school. Every man, woman, and child needs to know how to turn that negative belief into faith. But wait, we're missing an ingredient. It's kind of like having the hot dog without the wiener. In every single example that you can muster up, the person, whether it be in faith or in fear, has to apply a vision, and that triggers an emotion. Once you believe, you've got it. It's like the child wanting the dog, crossing the bridge or not. In every single case, the person applied belief and vision. And that was the driving force behind their belief. The next time that you are standing at the foot of your bridge that is waiting to be crossed, choose the vision of what it is you want. Stay focused on it. The longer you stay focused on what you want, the more positive emotion you will apply to it. And it will become believable. It will be your truth. And once you believe, you're there. And neuroscience research supports you. And truth be told, I didn't want to cross that bridge either. The future is not something way off in the distance. You are living it right now. Your beliefs shape your future. It's your choice.